Previously on Aoi Shiro. Natsunie-san held a double-edged sword, giving off an ominous air as she tottered towards the stepping stones. Kohaku-san was... Natsunie-san's black clothes were stained in various places. Underneath the moonlight, they had a reddish-purple sheen. What exactly happened to Kohaku-san?
しかしなぜだバロウリュウ。わしと兄とが策を浪して剣は常しえに失われたとお主もそれを信じたはずだ。
あの時ばかりはそう思ったぜ。だから俺は浦島に仕掛けを作った。ところが剣が失せてから100年経たないぐらいだったか。どこかの間抜けが封じを解いて剣の力を使ったのよ。
Ryu noticed that, dug around Urashima, and once again began his search for the sword.
情けねえな、虎姫よ。お前、それに気づかなかったか？
Anyways, it doesn't seem like she wanted to do anything above scaring people, but I should check to make sure.
それって安全面は大丈夫なんでしょうね。例えば転ばせるような罠の時、周りに石とか枝とか怪我するようなものはないかとか。例えば落とし穴に落ちた時、足首くじくような深さじゃないかとか。
Going by her face, I'd say no, she didn't think that far. I felt a little sorry for her, but the safety of everyone came first.
危険な仕掛けは撤去しなさい。せっかく作ったのに。
Poor Momoko.
休みとか引っかかったら危ないわよ。そこを撤去します。
And the traps that Momoko had made were rather effective. After all, the person who laid the traps was herself this surprised.
菅原道真が雷神として祀られる前の北の天神でもね、器具や怨霊に対する殺牛の祭りがあったのよ。
At least you're having a good time. I was okay. I should be okay now. I wouldn't be engulfed by the sword anymore. Even if darkness covers up the path, as long as I could see the star of hope, I would know what the right direction was. A new day was beginning.
翔子ちゃん、眩しい。そうね。そして
The light of the sun shone down on us, swaying among the endless waves. We both nodded.
行こう。私たちの帰る場所へ。翔子ちゃん、会いたかったです。
Starting now, our winter vacation, the first winter that Nami and I would spend together, began. And so it continues. Greetings, my name is Neosekken, and welcome back to my Let's Play of Aoi Shiro. So all I have left now is the grand end, but looking at the ending list, I still have a total of 5 endings left to get before I can safely say that this game is well and truly completed. And looking at the flowchart here, there's still like this portion right here that apparently branches off into nothing that I want to try check out here, see if like maybe there'll be something else there now that I've pretty much completed the game as much as I have up until this point. And there is still a couple parts of Yasumi's flowchart that I saw that still leave me a little confused. Like this right here, like it looks like there's another branch that's supposed to form here, but it doesn't, but it never really led anywhere, no matter how many times I went through Yasumi's route in the past. Same with this spot right here, which it looks to me like it could lead to a possible wrong end. So I'm just thinking, do some of these branches lead to some of these other missing endings I still have to find? Because if that's the case, then it just really makes me wonder. If the grand route isn't past this lock, which is on Nami's portion of the flowchart, then where the hell is it? So, Yeah, I'm a little confused on where exactly I should even start looking for this thing. So here's what I think I'm going to do. I'm going to take a look at this portion of the flowchart right here, right at the top, and then once I'm done here, I think I'll try to go down Nami's portion of the flowchart and try to see if I can get to that unlocked seal. Because I'm assuming that the grand end is past that seal. So let's do this.
カーソルを合わせると章台が表示されるわよ。
Well, that was easy. Yeah, I definitely don't remember these options. So here's what I'll do. I think I'll search the ocean first.
音の通り水の際。
I didn't take her words literally, but the roar of the sea was tugging at my heart. I felt as if the waves that flowed at the water's edge and separated the sea from the land were calling me. I went to the ocean to search for Migiwa.
あれ？翔子先輩？
Yes? I came to the ocean to search for Migiwa, but had an unexpected voice call out to me instead. I wasn't in the position to talk about others, but what was she doing here at this time and place? Since she had a weak body, I don't think it's good for her to be exposed to the sea breeze at night. It wasn't happening right now, but it's said that the sea always becomes rough around the time of Kurosama's festival.
翔子先輩も寝つけないんですか？寝つけないっていうか、一回目が覚めたのよ。それで右輪が出たまま戻った様子がないから、散歩がてらに探しにね。右輪さんを。ああ。
Would you have rather that I looked for you?
何？なんでもないです。
Okay, I believe you.
私はなんだか落ち着かなくて。
Okay, stop. Let me look at the
進
flowchart.
行上、カーソルを合わせると章台が表示されるわよ。
So it just flows right back here. And I assume the other option would just lead me right down to there as well. Well, that's one scene out of the way. Wishing the mountains. Up.
進行、カーソルを合わせると章台が表示されるわよ。
I didn't even get so much as a single line of dialogue from that. New dialogue? Interesting. Okay, so now that I got these two scenes out of the way, let's see if I can get to that seal. So I want the set of choices that will definitely get me closest to Nami, without a doubt, and get me to spend the most time with her. So I should work towards the left side of the chart for the most part. So let's do this. Deja vu.
スキップ。
Well, I don't think it would really matter which one I choose here, because, I mean, my goal is to make sure I'm present when Nami washes ashore, so just pick one.
誰でもいい。スキップよ。
Well, I'm not going for your route,
ついでだから。
so I think I should just choose
Skip your-
that. Okay, so let's rush to you.
ちょっと。スキップよ。
Let's go see last night's girl.
あの子が。スキップよ。進行上、カーソルを合わせると章台が表示されるわよ。
I'm not quite there yet.
スキップより。
Okay, stay by you.
ま、 キップ。進行上。カーソルを合わせると章台が表示されるわよ。
Okay, I'm definitely on it now. Did I always...
進行状態の把握は大事よね。進行状。
Yeah, okay, I remember I did choose both these options. So, I guess maybe I should stick to all the correct options that got me to her grand end. Well, Nami's grand end, so to speak. So, this?
まったく。用語辞典。どのスキップよ。
You can just lick my fingers.
スキップよ。スキップよ。進行。カーソルを合わせると章台が表示されるわよ。
I'm gonna be checking the flowchart frequently just to make sure that I am getting as close to that seal as possible. So, pardon the constant interruptions.
Skip.
Okay, we gotta wait and see. That's a no-brainer right there.
Skip. 進行状態のカーソルを合わせると章台が表示されるわよ。用意しスキップよ。遠慮。
Momoko's reaction to this will never stop being funny to me.
スキップよ。
Okay, we gotta call you out.
スキップ。用語辞典よ。用語辞典。進行上。カーソルを合わせると章台が表示されるわよ。
Nice. I'm right where I need to be. So, let's see what this is all about. Surrounded from all sides, it'd be hard to find a gap to escape. Though I had Kumoichi, it'd be reckless to try to break through. I've got a little bit of skill, but in the end, it was only within the confines of the rules of Kendo. In Kendo, the areas where you could strike were defined, but these things were not bound by that and would target any location. In addition, in Kendo, it was normally one-on-one. I didn't have any experience facing off against multiple opponents. That's why I raised my voice and called out for help. I'm sure Kohaku can save me. There was no response. You napping on me, Cyclops? Right now, I was deep within the South Forest, which was far from Shoshinji, which itself was far from town. Some girls had screamed loudly during the test of courage, but my voice wouldn't reach those waiting in the courtyard. Though I knew that my call for help wouldn't reach Shoshinji. Even if it did reach there, the only ones who could face these Oni were probably Mikiwa and the monk. I knew it was useless, but why are we getting the image of that big statue as the background here? It kind of gives a very sinister tone to what I'm seeing here. Still, I called out. I didn't know why I went this far, to call out until I was breathless, even though I knew it had no meaning. Did I really not know? Even though I wasn't aware of it, deep within my heart, I should have known from whom I was seeking help. I forget, did you run? Yeah, you did run into Kohaku earlier. Nami, or should I call her Yasuhime-sama right now? And I held hands. There was no gap between our sweaty palms. Perhaps those feelings weren't coming from me, but were flowing into me from Yasuhime-sama. I felt a strange sense of deja vu from these circumstances. That's why, Even though the calm part of my mind was warning me that what I was doing was useless, I still called out. I wasn't directing it to Migiwa or the monk. I was calling for help from someone else. What reason would you assume that at this point that Kohaku would help you?
誰か!
Mixed in with the sound of the wind rustling the trees and plants,
おい!
someone responded. Following the short response was the sharp sound of the wind being cut. That high-pitched sound resembled a flute. My eardrums rang in order to dissipate those piercing screams. The two Oni standing in front of us. They looked identical. After uncanny screams, a hole about the size of a fist started to expand in their chests and heads. At the location of that hole, there was a swirl of darkness which seemed to devour the Oni's body. The flesh around the border of the hole turned black and didn't reflect any light. The black body shattered into fine particles, smaller than the eye could see, like dried up mud or a fog of dust. The wind blew, and the short-statured creature was destroyed. Then, rustle. The wind swayed through the sal trees. The leaves rubbed against each other to create thunderous applause. Suddenly, without even the sound of footsteps standing out against the sound of the rustling leaves, that person appeared. The red clothes caught my eye. The whiteness of the skin caught my eye. Her height was somewhere between me and Nami, so she was even shorter than Momoko, the shortest member on the team. As someone who came to our aid in this predicament, her height indicated she wouldn't be of much help, but that person had leisurely taken on this many Oni, and even had a smile on her face with a fang peeking out. Left elbow bent, her left hand was on the scabbard of her sword. She was playing with two large pebbles in her right hand.
クロウ様!
Yasuhime-sama, who was watching the person who appeared, squeezed my hand. From just one glance, I knew she was no ordinary person, but... Kuro-sama? If this person was the incarnation of the dragon god sealed on this island, then she would be relaxed in front of such Oni. However... With short grunt, the one called Kuro-sama moved her right hand, quick as a flash. Though the left eye remained closed, it moved as if tracking something. In the space of a second, the small stones that she had been playing with in the palm of her hand disappeared. Faster than the sleeves of her outfit settled, there was screeching howls, and several Oni were destroyed. However, the rings surrounding us didn't collapse. Well, it was because they called for their comrades at their last breath. New Oni appeared and plugged up the hole created. Kuro-sama threw away the stone she had conjured like magic. She placed her right hand on the hilt of her sword.
やれやれ。つぶてだけでは助けが足りぬか。
Do your thing. Slice. With the cold sound of steel rubbing against steel, Kuro-sama unsheathed the sword at her side.
毛量。なんともまあ浅ましいものよ。高二度も群がりおって。
However, she didn't point her blade directly at the Oni surrounding us.
さすがにこれだけ数がおっては相手にするのが面倒だ。
She thrust her longsword high in the air. The white blade reflected the moonlight and cut through the curtain of night, making her existence seem mystical. For a while, I was entranced by that dazzling blade. A mystical sword that killed people. A famous sword that killed monsters. In oral traditions that were handed down, blades of that type were said to have a mind of their own. Her blade seemed like that. I felt as if that longsword were somehow alive.
数に頼むこやつらを見ていると、カムロどもを思い出して胸が悪くなる。はやつめ、相変わらず趣味の悪いことだ。どれ、わしが一つ手本を見せてやるとしよう。鬼とは。
The wind blew away the clouds that were covering the sky, suddenly returning the night to its bluish-black color.
鬼とは核あるべし。のう、小娘。そうは思わぬか?
Kurosama flashed open a burning red, right eye. There was something over there. The thing standing between us and the moon wasn't something I could trust, unlike those formless clouds which I understood. It was probably around 240 centimeters, almost 2.5 meters tall. Behind the short-statured person with her left eye closed, towered a black shadow. Stretching out its huge body and limbs, and puffing out its chest, it took the form of a person. However, it was much too big to be that. From the presence given off by its strange appearance, I could tell its destructive power. It was definitely not human. That really was the form of an Oni. Compared to that, the monsters that were only at the height of my waist really were nothing more than small fry.
Oniwaka, hineri tsubuse.
In a quick movement, Kurosama swung down her sword to point the small Oni, known as Moryu. That was a signal to start the onslaught. A sharp sound rushed through the air like a snake, displaying its tongue. Whether that was a signal or not, Oniwaka rushed forward. Someone should make a painting out of this. It's just too beautiful. It was a one-sided thrashing. As he casually swung around his arms, which looked like logs, the Moryu were easily knocked into the air. The dark red wind which resulted made my hair flutter. A Moryu which was scattered into the air flew by within a few centimeters of me, so fast it was hard to see its form. There was a crash like a detonation, and I turned around to look. Looking at the source, I saw that the rather thick trunk of a sal tree had been bent, causing the remaining flowers to fall. The Moryu had fallen to the ground among the scattering of white flowers. It couldn't hold its form and turned to black dust.
Oi! そこの娘と小娘。
I wonder if she wanted to adopt a posture of winking, as her left eyelid remained closed, while her lips lifted up in a smile.
死にたくなければ下がっておれ。
She had announced a frightening statement. It's true that the small-statured Moryu might not be that heavy, but... Though a bullet only weighs several grams, the speed at which it traveled gave it enough power to kill a person. Even a large cannonball would weigh under 16 pounds, which is lighter than a Moryu. If were got hit by that at that speed, that line could use some editing. I shuddered as a chill went down my spine, and as a large roar shook the air. As if they were falling dominoes, Oniwaka smashed the Moryu in front of him as he went by. The Moryu had claws as sharp as a knife, and they tried to counterattack. But Oniwaka paid no attention to that, as he stomped on them just like Bishamonten stomped on Amanojaku Uni. The Moryu, which were crushed between his foot and the ground, turned to dust, causing a wind to blow through the resulting gap. This truly was a one-sided thrashing, and it's beautiful. I wonder how much time had passed. I didn't even think about escaping through the gap created, and could only watch with my mouth open as the storm blew by. I didn't hear any roars or last gasps of breath anymore. I blinked, opening and closing my eyes. I wonder if this is what it felt like to be deceived by a fox. Not just the Moryu, who had vanished into dust, but just like how he appeared, the form of Oniwaka had also disappeared.
九郎様。人がとうに捨てた名を呼ぶ。お主は何者だ？わしが影となりし兄者が亡くなった以上、男なりでその名を名乗る意味などなくしておるわ。この姿ではわかりませぬか。あなたは本当にあの時のまま、少しも変わっておられぬのに、私は見る影もありませんもの。お主は。
In contrast to Kuro-sama, who narrowed her eyes suspiciously, Yasuhime-sama opened her eyes up wide.
九郎様。
As if she were making a prediction, Yasuhime-sama stared into empty space as she whispered.
来ます。剣が近づいてきます。
Kaya's coming?
夜明けよりも早く、この地に。
And then, at the same time as she stopped talking, her eyelids fell, and her body went limp. How convenient. You happen to lose consciousness right here and now.
Nami!
Afraid we can't get more exposition at this point, huh? Reflexively, I called out Nami's name instead of Yasuhime-sama as I caught her body. The Nami I was holding in my arms had heartbeat and was breathing, but...
そう心配することはない。剣の毒気に当てられて気を失っただけだろ。
Damn it, Kaya. As if my relieved sigh acted like priming a pump to draw water to the surface, I heard familiar voices that let me relax. Plot twist. Momoko stole the sword from Kaya while she wasn't looking.
Osa!
The voices belonged to Momoko and Migiwa, who were probably looking for me, since I was late in coming back.
Osa とはお前のことか?
How nice of you all to only start looking for me in this route. Care to explain to me why you never showed me this level of concern in the other ones?
幼い証拠です。助けていただいてありがとうございます。何？物のついでだ。
As I bowed down my head, the savior of our lives narrowed her red right eye with a kindly look. She then looked at Nami, who was sleeping in my arms.
そちらの娘が何者か気になることは気になるが、それ以上のことがあるのでな。では、わしは祈るぞ。
Can we meet up later? Just like how she had appeared, she suddenly disappeared.
ホサ先輩、コース外れたこんな場所で一体何をやってたんです？ナミーとアイのエスケープ？オサ？うん。なんでもないわ。
I want to look at the flow
進行
chart.
状態のカーソルを合わせると章台が表示されるわよ。
Look at that. It's just skirting right past this bad end. And I guess we're just going to be working all the way down here. What was this sense of deja vu? Because it kept bothering me and bothering me. I couldn't sleep. Here's what I'm thinking. Either I sleep, and I guess I get a vision of Kaya, I don't, and I might possibly end up running into somebody who could help advance the plot forward in a beneficial way to me, or a not-so-beneficial way. I got out of my futon. After what had happened, I decided to borrow Kumaoichi. With this, Kumaoichi, to those Moryu, I would... If I couldn't protect Nami at the same time, then I should at least be able to do that, right? If there were as many numbers as there were before, shouldn't we run away before we get surrounded? I changed clothes, gripped a wooden sword, and went outside.
Osa, こんな時間にどこ行くわけ?
To practice fly swatting. As someone called out to me, I turned around.
木刀を持って魚釣りってことはないわよね。
Well, I know you're not.
右は、あなたは昨日と同じ釣り? 海幸彦は山幸彦とそれぞれの道具を交換しました。
Miwa tapped the long bag containing her stuff as she gave an intrepid smile.
今日は山で狩りでもしようかと思って。
You're just trying to find out what I was up to, aren't you?
カッパを? カッパの仲間って季節によって山に上がったりするやつもいるのよ。正直、その親玉が気になってね。
If those were Shikigami, then there was a person wielding them, is what she meant.
危ないわよ。その危ないところに、オサは行くんでしょ？大丈夫だって、私オサより強いだろうし。
Well, give me a couple nights with Kohaku and I could knock you on your butt. I somehow knew that Migiwa was no ordinary person.
とはいえ聞いた話だと、相手は左目を閉じたべらぼうに強い鬼を使う陰陽師か。
After going to the mountains, Umi Sachihiko met an unfortunate demise at the very end. I wondered if Migiwa knew that. That person, who Yasuhime-sama had called Kuro-sama, was loitering around the Tokusaki no Tsubaki whose flowers had scattered. The flowers had departed from this world, but she was standing there as if she herself was the Tokusaki no Tsubaki.
そこの長から聞いたんだけど。
And you're gonna start swinging in 3, 2... Migiwa undid the string tied around her bag and took out a pole that was around 150 centimeters long. The long, straight vermilion pole was of uniform thickness along its length, and was clearly not a fishing pole. Migiwa warmed up by swinging it around. She then broke the air of silence by pointing the tip at the quietly standing Kuro-sama.
剣が来るのを待ってるんだって？お主、ステンの鬼切りか？へえ、よく知ってたわね。鬼切り部ステン島が鬼切り、キヤン右は。
As Migiwa prepared to pounce, as nimble as a cat hunting for prey, Kuro-sama suddenly looked away. Migiwa, who had raised her determination to fight, lost that timing for a second, before she could regain it again.
よせよせ。お主と争う気などはない。は?
Since she continued to look away and wanted Migiwa to stop, it sliced away at Migiwa's fighting ardor. If Kuro-sama's voice had showed any intention to fight or held any fear, Migiwa would probably have attacked. However, I felt that her voice indicated something like, "This is pointless, just stop already." No matter how extraordinary Migiwa was, If she picked a fight with someone who had that huge Oni, she wouldn't get off easy. That was how overwhelming and powerful that huge Oni was. Kurosama didn't put her hand on the hilt of her sword. She looked at Miguo with her right eye and said,
お主の党の党首。今では鬼切り役というのかな。
Whoops.
援軍が来るかもしれないし、来ないかもしれないしと適当なことを。おそらくわしがその援軍だ。
Kurosama seemed to know about the inner workings of the Onikiribi and said as if it were something trivial.
聞いたことはないか？剣の封じが解けると、守り手が現れると。
Judging from Miguo's reaction, she had probably heard about something like that. Kurosama was the guardian of the sword.
わしは琥珀。剣を竜宮に持ち込んだ張本人だ。琥珀？九郎様ではなく？昔はそのような名で呼ばれたこともあったが。
She looked up at the Tsubaki tree, which had lost its flowers, as if reminiscing of the ancient past.
今は琥珀と呼ぶがよい。あの神がかりの娘が予言していただろう。もうすぐここに危険が来る。まだ来てないじゃないの。
I wonder if we're going to witness a three-way between Kohaku, Migiwa, and Kaya. The moment Migiwa said that, I once again felt a coil of fear go down my spine. Yeah, that's probably exactly what's going to happen right now, isn't it? This presence. Kurosama. Kohaku-san got ready to unsheath her sword. She narrowed her eyes with a sharp glance, as she declared,
いや、来た。
Yep. Now, where am I
進
on
行
the
状態
chart?
のカーソルを合わせると章台が表示されるわよ。
Okay, so it goes here.
進行カーソルを合わせると章台が表示されるわよ。
Okay, I am going down this lock, so it does look like I'm going down the right path for sure. Wait. Oh my god, never mind. I thought I was somehow farther down the flow chart than I actually was, so ignore me. If I had not stopped moving, the location where I would have been was where Natsuni-san, where the Kenkei, who is not Natsuni-san right now, had swung down the sword. That was a cursed item from the Age of Gods that could even bury a deity. That was plenty enough to kill one human. It was a cursed item that gave off an enormous amount of power. Just getting near it was rather dangerous. And the danger didn't end with just that. A large amount of power would attract small bits of power to it. I didn't know if they were drawn by the sword's miasma, or if the sword itself was their goal, but probably all the Moryu in the area had been gathered here. That's how many of them there were.
Shoko-chan! Abunai!
I grabbed onto Nami's hand, using that as a fulcrum to pull her towards me. As a reaction to that, I went forward. As Nami and I switched places, the claws of the Moryu scratched me. Could somebody kill these things? There had been no time to dodge, or prepare to receive the blow. Since the distance was so short, a normal attack wouldn't produce any power. In Kendo, from the tip of the sword to around 9 centimeters down was the most effective area for striking. However, this wasn't a Kendo match. I used the pommel of the wooden sword in my left hand, and brought it down on the Moryu's head, between its long ears. I hope that hurt. The Moryu didn't have a dish on its head, but a flowing mane, though the impact of hitting it still made my arm vibrate. blow from above made the Moryu hunker down, and I proceeded to kick it away. As the Moryu bent backward, I launched a strike at its throat. Since it was low to the ground, it was a little tough to target, but as long as the opponent was pushed away, that was fine. At the same time as when the opponent was shoved backwards, I swung the wooden sword. Letting go of Nami with my right hand, I swung down from a high overhead stance.
Man!
I wondered if this was the same feeling as splitting the hard skin of a watermelon. That feeling lasted only a second as the Moryu turned into smoke thicker than a rain cloud and vanished into the night. I readied myself. The opponent in front of me had disappeared, and there was no new opponents that were targeting us right now.
Nami! どうしてここに?
翔子ちゃんを探していました。翔子ちゃん!
Nami raised her voice when she saw my wound. But still, for so many Moryu to appear, there surely must be someone behind this.
ボフリ一辺倒のイノシシ武者かと思っておったら、やはり裏には老竜がいたかよ。
Natsune-san had obtained the power of the sword. She now had more power than Kohaku-san and was overwhelming her. In addition, the crowd of Moryu were impeding Kohaku-san's movements. It was all I could do to protect Nami.
もう一つ、虎の子を出さねばならぬか!
And as if in response to her words, like how a snake rears its head to intimidate prey, there was the sound of a longsword slicing in the air. An eye for an eye, a sword against a sword, and an Oni should be used to fight Oni. Just like when she had saved us, she was planning on calling that huge Oni.
Oniwaka!
And then it came. Though the Moryu were troublesome, we could see the outcome. The Moryu would end their lives, leaving not a blueprint behind. That's because Nami and I had seen that huge Oni use its overwhelming power to mow through the Moryu several hours earlier. Since that Oniwaka was here, even if the owner of the sword were here, as a loyal retainer, Oniwaka didn't pay any attention to the Moryu, but rushed forward to where his master was in danger. Laying forth a roar, Oniwaka ran forward. They rushed towards Natsune-san, the Kenkei, whose reasoning was swallowed up by the sword at the moment. Don't do it! A cursed item that should even bury a god easily sliced through. Natsune-san right now was almost like a natural enemy. In addition to Oniwaka was Kohaku-san's Shikigami. In other words, his form was composed of pure power. That sword devours power. The sword that pierced Oniwaka started to devour the power that gave Oniwaka its shape. Around the area where the sword pierced its flank, a slight black hole opened, where fog and dust-like power poured out. Even then, Oniwaka, who was so tall you had to crane your neck up to look at him, swung down at the Kenkei with all his might. However, the Kenkei used the sword to stop even that. Where the sword touched Oniwaka's fist, it splintered the power there, and while pulsating, it gladly started to drain it dry. Following the physical laws of nature, the combo of mass and speed into pure power was all dispelled before reaching the Kenkei. A duel against a sword, which wouldn't even allow itself to be touched, was the worst match for a Shikigami. Kohaku-san's strike sliced Natsune-san. A spray of blood. Natsune-san retreated, and maintained some distance away from both Kohaku-san and Oniwaka.
Oniwaka! Kaere!
Kohaku-san swung Homaru in her hand along with an order for Oniwaka to step down. With a whoosh, the form of Oniwaka vanished into thin air. It resembled how the Muryu disappeared, but Oniwaka didn't crumble, just dissipated. It was a good thing that he disappeared before being eliminated. Natsune-san left the area through the gap that was created.
久方ぶりすぎて剣の正気に当てられた。
Kohaku-san sheathed her sword and fell to her knees. With one burning eye, she glared in the direction Natsune-san had disappeared.
このありさまでは少し休まねば身動きが取れん。
Even if she could stand up and run, she surely wouldn't be able to catch up to Natsune-san.
翔子ちゃん、傷見せてください。
No option to chase after Kaya?
私、それ直せるみたい。
She placed her small white hand on top of my wound. I felt some sort of tripling power sink within. It was a little hot, like soaking in a tub. It also felt a little numbing, as the sensation slowly spread out from that area. When the swaying waves started to withdraw and recede, the heat and pain of the wound had also been carried away.
ほう、便利なものだな。
I know, right?
そんなことして平気なの？
私は平気みたいですけど。
She stared at both her hands with a look that seemed to say she didn't know where that power welled up from. After that, Kohaku-san and Migiwa headed for the island to chase after the sword and Natsune-san. The only ones left were Nami and me. We decided to head for... Well, to me, I think the smart decision would be to go to Urashima, because, I mean, I don't see the grand end taking place anywhere else but Urashima, considering where all the other characters' endings took place. So, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to intentionally screw myself up here just so I can see all the possible bad ends that we have left. So we're going to go to the temple. Assuming, of course, I am making the wrong decision here. We head for the place we had come from and return to Shoshinji. I forcibly closed my eyes, though I didn't feel sleepy at all. Though something like that happened, morning still came, as usual. The bright light lit up the world, and the morning came, just like it always did.
進行上、カーソルを合わせると章台が表示されるわよ。
Slowly but surely, I'm moving down. The flowers of the Tokusaki no Tsubaki had fallen. Nami had become Yasuhime-sama. We were attacked by small oni, called by the name Muryu, I believe. We were saved by an omiyuji who wielded a huge oni, with white skin and hair like Nami, but an eye red as Tokusaki no Tsubaki. Migiwa, who was part of the Onikiribi tribe, Onikiribi, whose job was to eliminate oni, was related to that omiyuji. And also, Natsune-san, who should have died, had become an oni and was still alive. No. Was it that she became an oni and returned from the land of the dead? It would be nice if everything were just a dream, but...
翔子ちゃん、おはようございます。
Good morning, Nami. It wasn't a dream. Whether Yasuhime-sama possessed her, or Nami herself was Yasuhime-sama who had lost her memories, or was something else entirely, I didn't know which it was, but perhaps because Yasuhime-sama talked through her, Nami was also now able to talk. She had returned from being the solemn and majestic Yasuhime-sama to the same Nami as always, except she was able to talk. All of yesterday wasn't a dream.
おはようございます。
Good morning, Yasumi.
どうしたの？顔真っ青よ。
Yasumi's complexion looked deathly white. Though Nami was paler than Yasumi, that was because it was her normal complexion, like the original color of a craft doll. However, the color of Yasuhime's skin right now was as if the life had drained out of it and wasn't her original complexion. Aoi Shiro wasn't around for you to suck the life out of, I take it.
まさか夕べの手巻きのネタに爆弾が。爆弾ですか？そうそう、後からお腹にじわじわくる次元式のって。いやいや待て待て、寿司ネタで爆弾って言うとオールわさびの鼻につくあいつ。
A bomb that sits in your stomach until a time limit. Reminds me of 999. And I wonder how long it's gonna take for you to realize that Nami's talking, Momoko.
ナミがなんか喋ってる。
I was expecting at least a few more lines of dialogue, so call me pleasantly surprised. You're quick on the uptake today. Momoko, who was off in her own world while she rambled, had a bit of a delayed reaction.
休館長だって喋るんだから、ナミだって喋るわよ。
言われてみればそうですねって。あれ？
それより、休みが食べたネタの中で、あなたが食べてないものってあったかしら？
それはないです。ありえません。料理中のつまみ食いとかならいざ知らず、夕べの手巻きはお嬢さんプロデュースでしたから。
Even if they ate the same thing, it would also depend on the person and a difference in robustness, like heaven and earth. Anyways, Yasumi was delicate and sometimes experienced pain doing daily tasks, so she might not be affected when others were not.
すみちゃん、大丈夫ですか？
Nami reached up to try to pat her head. Yasumi bowed her head so she was at the proper height and smiled.
大丈夫じゃないけど、大丈夫かな？
Yasumi's hand intersected with Nami's, and she also placed her palm on Nami's head.
それよりナミちゃん、喋れるようになってよかったね。
床先の椿が。
ああ、霊剣新たかな。うわあ、長先輩の指を癒した温泉に続き、また一つ伝説が。
As everyone focused on Momoko, who was making a fuss, I whispered in Nami's ear.
それよりナミ、昨日のって休みにもできる？
やってみます。
Nami placed her palm on Yasumi's forehead. Whether it was due to her healing power or because her cool hand felt good, Yasumi's face relaxed a little.
休み、気分はどう？
別にそんなに気にしてもらわなくても。
聞いてないみたいね。
私にもわからないです。
Well, that sucks. Before going running, we went to the Grand Hall to report the events to the monk and Aoi Sensei and had a discussion with them.
おはようございます。
おや、小さいお嬢さん。
喋れるようになったのね。
はい、なりました。
As expected of adults who maintained an air of dignity, they weren't as shocked as Momoko that Nami could talk.
名前や家や親御さんのことなどは？
Perhaps because she was used to that action, she didn't speak, but shook her head instead. Her long hair, which was long enough to drag along the ground, rippled like waves.
さすがにそこまではですかな。それにしても花子さん、これで少し心残りが軽くなりましたな。
本当に。
先生、心残りって？
今夜あたりからね、 近年でも稀なぐらいの天気になるらしいのよ。
In one corner of the hall, there was an old-fashioned television with legs attached. A weather report displayed on the cloudy CRT. The unfamiliar announcer reading the weather report was probably from a local station.
大きな低気圧が近づいており、
お天気が持ちそうなのは今日いっぱいまでですか。
うちが雨風なんぞにびくともしない立派な寺ならよかったんじゃがの。
Reality was just the opposite, and the first impression the ancient renowned temple gave was a deteriorating building. Though if it were just the morning dew, it'd be fine.
それで鈴木さんと相談して、やっぱり早めに切り上げようってことにしたのね。
そうですか。
ですけど、そういう時こそ人手があった方がいいんじゃないですか。
お嬢さんらが屈強な雲水なら、わしも遠慮なくこき使ったじゃろうがの。
Oh, I guess we got an ending. Let's go to the island this time.
ナミ、私たちも浦島に行くわよ。
翔子ちゃん。
We returned to Shoshinji, changed clothes, and then once again headed for the stepping stones. We crossed over the thin road that, were we to let this chance pass us by, we would have to wait for half a day for. This would be the first step. The gap between the rocks wasn't as wide as the ocean, and even the stride of a person could cross over them. You know, I just realized something. Two things, actually. Number one, we're going over to the island a day earlier than we usually do in the other routes. And number two, could it be possible that Shioko will have a fully charged cell phone on her this time? I really hope that'll be the case for the latter, because that would be so useful. I'm not gonna hold my breath on that last one, though. Oh wait, did I forget to read that? The gap between the rocks wasn't as wide as the ocean, and even the stride of a person could cross over them. I proceeded first. Turning around, I reached out my hand to Nami, who was still on Neosekken.
翔子ちゃん、手を貸してくれますか。
もちろん。
I held on to her outstretched hand. With slim, delicate, slightly cool fingers, it was a hand I had held many times since the day before yesterday.
私の体がちゃんと育ってくれていたなら、ここまで手をかけないのですけど。
いいわよ、別に。
As I recall, the child I met in the past was about my age. However, it might have been a big help that she was as light as she was right now, instead of a half-grown body with no stamina.
ナミ、だんだん潮が満ちてきた。
急がないといけませんね。でも、慌てると転んでしまいます。
ここで転ぶと危ないわよね。
Hands intertwined, we crossed over the only stepping stones, where dawn had not yet arrived. We crossed over there, over the straight line stretching across the azure sea. We crossed over the road that was like a thin line that broke through the white-capped waves. This was the road that the Kenkei, with sword in hand, had crossed. The Onikiri and Guardian had chased after her and crossed here. Nami and I also crossed over this road. We did this so that Yasuhime-sama, who resided in Nami, could repair the seal in Matamu, a remnant of the Oni King's power. We head for what was called Onigashima in the legend, to the island where the dragon god, Kurokuru, dwelled. Towards the northeast, in the direction of the Demon's Gate, where the palace of the sea god was located. Though we had a night like that, We still crossed over the stepping stones throughout the night. We were almost at the limits of our stamina and willpower. I checked to see how far the sharp, dangerous rocks would extend. Taking that into consideration, I collapsed on the ground. Lying face down, it was difficult to breathe. Using my arms and twisting my body, I turned and faced up towards the sky. Walking the whole night, I had overexerted my legs, which were finally freed from the heavy burden of supporting my body weight. The stagnant old blood mixed in with new blood and was squeezed from my toes.
翔子ちゃん、大丈夫ですか？
Nami reached out her hand towards my cheek and peered out at me with a worried look.
ナミこそ体力使ったでしょ。
翔子ちゃんに助けてもらったから。
見て、もう朝よ。
I sucked in a breath and felt a feeling of spaciousness as I looked up at the sky, which had turned blue. The tall, blue, far-off sky felt as if it would suck in my very consciousness. Every second, the sun's angle of incidence increased by 240th of a degree. The white light warmed up my skin. That heat felt as if it would melt my mind. The end of yesterday. The start of today. As my eyelids dropped and I was going to drift off into a white sleep, I was woken up by the ring of my cell phone. It was not the sound of an alarm clock that I had forgotten to turn off, but the sound of an incoming call.
もしもし？
もしもし、幼いさん？あなた今どこにいるの？
それは。
Since we couldn't come back now, perhaps it would be better to tell her the truth.
浦島です。
ナミちゃんと一緒にいるのね。
はい。
床先の椿が目的なのね。
はい。
I didn't have to tell her the truth. Aoi Sensei had already seen through what I was thinking. Aoi Sensei let out a sigh that I felt would even travel through the telephone.
幼いさんはもう少し落ち着きのある子だと思ってたんだけど。
I didn't regret crossing the stepping stones with Nami. I'd do it again if we went back in the past, though I did feel apologetic.
それじゃあすぐに戻ってくるっていうのは難しいわね。
I just love how resigned she sounds to all of this. It's almost like as though she somehow is recalling all the other routes here and is just thinking, nah, fuck this. There's just, what's the point of even getting upset with this girl? Just, I'll do whatever you need me to do on my end. Just be back before sundown or something. You know what I mean?
そうですね。早くても半日後になると思います。
困ったわね。またゆうべ相沢さんが倒れたのよ。
休みが？
それに天気の問題もあるから、できれば今日中にここを立ってしまいたかったんだけれど。
She was saying that our departure was delayed until tomorrow morning. But I wondered if we could return by then. Even before that, I wondered if we would be able to safely return. After that, Sensei's lecture continued until the battery of my cell phone ran out, resulting in the end of conversation. God damn it, Aoi Sensei! You fucked up my cell phone battery!
疲れた。
大変でしたね。
いや、いい先生なんだけどね。
Not good enough to prevent my battery from dying on me. Though she was normally twice as solicitous as a normal person. Oh god, I've never seen that expression before. It's kind of terrifying. The only tiny flaw was that when she became passionate about her hobby, she lost sight of everything else around her. I can see that. It might have been rather painful for her not to be able to contact us during an emergency.
それより休みが倒れたって。繊細な子だから剣や毛量の気に当てられたのかも。
Shoshinji was quite far from the area, but depending on a person's sensitivity, it wouldn't be too far a distance. Yasuhime-san had been farther away from the sword and had predicted, no, sensed, that I would come last night.
そうかもしれません。
でも剣はすでに浦島に来てるはずだし、もう大丈夫よね。
Seriously, that look I saw of hers is gonna stay with me through the remainder of the night. It looks like the sword. She looks like someone that is gonna eat your damn soul, without even so much as dinner utensils. And it would be as bloody as you can imagine. It's hilarious and terrifying all at once.
そうだといいです。
We could do nothing more than pray that was the case. Was this also due to my bad luck? The events that happened caused the shogi pieces to fall one by one like dominoes. I let out a sigh.
翔子ちゃん、少し休みましょう。
そうね。さすがに昨日あれだけ色々あった上で徹夜の強行軍だもの。これじゃ体が持たないわ。
It's true that I was also near the limit of my stamina. My legs and lower back, of course. But since I helped Nami cross, my arms, shoulders, and muscles were all tight and aching. It'd be better to find someplace to rest and massage them or something. Well, the cave has generally brought me good luck, so I'm going to wager a guess and say that the Tsubaki Forest will bring me the exact opposite of that.
だけど
We had stepped onto the very island where there was probably a critical situation occurring.
その前にもう一頑張りしてあなたの力を取り戻しておきましょう。
今からこのまま床先の椿の森に？
Yep.
せっかくここまで来たんだもの。目の前で間に合わないなんて間抜けな結果だけは避けたいわ。
Also, if we retrieve the power from the Tokusaki no Tsubaki, at least Nami's weariness might be alleviated.
翔子ちゃん疲れてます。休んでからの方がいいです。
大丈夫。
I was tottering a little, but it'd be fine if we were just walking. I didn't have enough energy to swing Kumoichi around, but I would be plenty fine to just walk to the Tokusaki no Tsubaki forest. And also, over there, I had one more sense of deja vu. Over there, I believe there was a much better place to rest than in a cavern by the beach.
大丈夫だから行きましょう。
翔子ちゃん、来ます。
来ますって？
coming?
毛量？
Relying on the scene I saw in my dream, and the power that Nami felt, we head for the Tsubaki forest. I was exhausted, but thinking that our goal was close, my legs had just naturally carried my heavy body forward. That's why I hadn't paid attention to anything else besides our goal. That's why I didn't notice that the Moryu had gathered this close. Well, how about that? This is the first time we've seen you in broad daylight. By the time Nami had noticed and voiced a warning, they were already trying to surround us.
Nami, こっち!
I pulled Nami's hand toward a direction where there was still room to escape. However, where should we escape to? Even if it wasn't just me, it would probably be impossible to shake off the Moryu with Nami in tow. But there was some sort of refuge on this island. If we were able to meet up with Migiwa and Kohaku-san, who should be on this island, or if we met Natsune-san, who became an Oni, this crowd of small Oni would be. And there was one other on this island, who even Natsune-san couldn't defeat. Couldn't defeat? Who couldn't defeat? Whom? Are you okay, Shioko? At the same time Nami let loose a small scream, I felt a pull along our linked hands. Nami had stumbled over a tree root.
Nami!
As Nami lost her balance and fell, it also caused me to fall. I corrected my balance and pulled up on Nami's arm. What in the world was I doing? If I, who had trained a lot, was this tired, then that small body of Nami's must be even more so. If I'd thought a bit... Well, take comfort. I'm the one who decided to be the dumb one here. You just went right along with my commands. And then we were surrounded. Did they well up from somewhere? Or perhaps this really was Onigashima, Island of Oni. Tenfold, 20-fold Moryu surrounded us. There was no more room to escape.
ごめん。
As I apologized to Nami, I let go of our linked hands and used both hands to grip Kumoichi. If I could cut open the path in one place, so that at least Nami could escape, then my promise of Yasuhime-sama would... That's right. If the power of Yasuhime-sama, which could even seal Matsumu, were recovered, then at least Nami would be saved. Thinking like that, I steeled my resolve. I drew in a large breath. Welling up from deep within my body, I moved my body through fighting spirit alone. With sensation like hitting a watermelon or rubber tire, the impact numbed my arm as I swung Kumoichi around without restraint. With this many of them gathered here, even if I didn't directly target anything, I'd be able to hit something. And I wasn't holding an ordinary wooden sword. I was holding Kumoichi, a miraculous sword from the Tokusaki no Tsubaki. I felt an impact, such as that. Then it didn't matter where I hit them. It would have been a mortal wound. Of course, since they came across like a wave, I couldn't take care of all the Moryu. My arms and legs were already covered with countless wounds. Wounds parallel to the Moryu's claws engraved themselves on my body. However... my poor ears. 10 slashes. 20 slashes. I felt as if I would crumble.
Nami!
Now is the time to escape. I turned to look at Nami, who was clinging to me from behind.
Shoko-chan!
Nami's body was in the hands of the Moryu. I tried to return along the path I had just come from. However, the gap that I had created had already been plugged up by new opponents. And as I tried to continue along that path, new wounds were carved into me. The injuries seeped my strength. Because blood was crystallization of power. As power flows, it allows one to move. As an extremely fuel-inefficient vehicle, I was close to exhausted. It's no good. My feet were all tangled. Along the path to the forest where the Tsubaki blossomed, a red flower bloomed. Along the path to the forest where the Persian red Tsubaki flowers blossomed, a persimmon fell. Two out of 5. You know, I should also check this option out while I'm at it. I burrowed into the middle of my futon. Oh, that's it? Oh? What do we have here? Okay, so just... put me right along this part of the chart. Alright.
夏ねスキップおい翔子
Oh? The voice that called my name clung to my sunken consciousness like air bubbles floating up from the ocean bottom. I was just gonna skip my way to Nami's good end here and then just reload my save. Where am I?
カーソルを合わせると章台が表示されるわよ
Oh, hey! I can see this scene now. Interesting. The voice that called my name clung to my sunken consciousness like air bubbles floating up from the ocean bottom. That voice wasn't familiar. But why did it feel nostalgic? It brought me towards the water's surface from the deep, dark sea. I was in the boundary between dreams and reality. And then, I was at the edge of that boundary.
おいお主目が覚めたか
The white face right in front of me was a little jarring. Maybe because of the sudden contrast between the bright red right eye and the closed left one, I felt somewhat dizzy.
あなたは
This person, who was too pale like Nami, and had white skin glowing in the dim night, like the moon floating in the sky. Before I could speak the name used by Nami, who had caused the Tokusaki no Tsubaki to fall, and was Yasuhime-sama's vessel.
琥珀
Her mouth lilted up like the last quarter of the moon, as she interrupted me with a different word.
琥珀我が名は琥珀
That's right.
人がとうに捨てた名を呼ぶお主は何者だ
Yasuhime-sama had called her Kurosama, a name that she had thrown away. Her name right now was Kohaku-san. She was the master of a massive Oni, who was like the steel wall of a castle, a wielder of Oni who kept her left eye closed. A one-eyed Onyuji. Just like a couple days ago, this person had rescued me again. Rescued me. I had encountered a situation where I had to be saved.
ナミは右側夏姉さんは知らんよわしは知らん
As I eagerly sought an answer, the person who didn't know about anyone else mercilessly waved her hand and stepped back. Seems she had been concerned about something, but that look immediately disappeared from her face.
本当はお主もどうでもよかったんだがなまあ剣のついでだ
It's okay. I know deep down you actually do care.
剣お主が固く握りしめておったのでな腕か指を落として回収しようと思ったが
It's okay. I know you really didn't want to cut off my arms or fingers. It seems it had really been a state of emergency.
それで翔子何があった
I wonder, would something new show up if I continue to let things play out? I don't think so, but just for the fun of it, let's see. Nope. Let's go cave diving. Among the cliffs which were lined up along the shore, there were entrances to countless caves, both big and small. If we entered a cave, we'd probably be able to avoid both the strong summer sun and the strong sea breeze.
本格的に動く前に一休み
As if trying to drown out my voice, a low guttural moan resounded, like the howl of an ox or the sound from a conch shell.
島なりマダムの吠える声
The seal in Matamu was dissolving. We had returned the power given to one of the trees that was to let the seal last for eternity, causing the flowers to scatter. There was a legend that every year during this time, Matsumi tried to make the Tsubaki scatter and summoned a storm with his howl.
焦る必要はないわ。穴の中に風が吹き込んでるだけよ。思い出したんだけど、この近くにも休むのにちょうどいい洞窟があるのよ。
洞窟には風が入ってくるといませんでしたか？
Nami asked that with a worried look on her face, as her sleeves flapped and her long hair fluttered.
言ったけど、その洞窟は大丈夫よ。多分。少し奥まったところにあったし、近くには風よけになりそうな石が立ってたから。
Near Oshima, there were large, strangely shaped rocks standing up around the Oni stepping stones. There should be a large rock acting like a screen near one side of that cave. Since the wind was coming from the open sea, if the wind was going in the caves, it should hit the caves from the other side.
少なくとも私たちがそこに入った8年前の夏は風に悩まされることはなかったわ。
As I had been crossing over the stepping stones of Nami, I felt a sense of deja vu. Relying on that deja vu, I was able to recall a faint, hazy memory. That's right.
私は夏姉さんと一緒にこの島に来た。
そして翔子ちゃんは
私とあなたはこの島で出会っているはず。ここよ。
Yeah, that one little portion on Yasumi's part of the flowchart's still bothering me, so I want to look at some of them fast.
進行上、カーソルを合わせると章題が表示されるわよ。
That's right. Well, not that one, at least. It's here. So, let me look. It's not there. I'm thinking that there's probably got to be a branch somewhere higher up on the flowchart that I could take that could lead me here. So I'm just trying to see where it could be. So it's not there, not there, not there, and... Never mind.
はい、悪い感じはしないです。
Because it was near the ocean, the inside of the cave was quite damp, and it couldn't be called a comfortable place to stay. But still, being in a place where the wind and rain couldn't reach gave a sense of security. 8 years ago, I came here with Natsuni-san. It was something that happened 8 years in the past. At that time, my world had revolved around Akiko-san. Akiko-san was my grandmother. She took the place of my busy mother, and though there was a large age gap, she was my friend. Most importantly, she helped cement the relationship between Natsuni-san and I, so that we were as tight as true sisters. She was the only one who taught a young me that when a precious person died, that person went across the ocean to an island of eternity. That's why I made a selfish request to Natsuni-san. We crossed over to Hiroshima, where it was said that many Tokusaki no Tsubaki bloomed. They created a forest. And then on this island, I became friends with a girl who had been around my age. The name of the girl in my dream was... Wrong! After seeing that dream, the name that I whispered really was of this child. Though her age didn't match up with the girl in my dream, Natsuni-san had also showed up as an Oni, 8 years later, unchanged. If it was this child who had some connection to Yasuhime-sama, who became immortal after eating mermaid's flesh.
何？
なんでしょう。
Perhaps she was already half asleep since she gave a sleepy response. I hugged Nami to me. Her body temperature felt a little low, but she was warmer than the cave. I closed my eyes and said,
少し眠って疲れが取れたら椿の森へ行きましょう。
Hopefully there won't be any more you there to claw our faces off.
はい。
Well, my face. You'll be okay. Me, not so much. Once we retrieved the power from the Tsubaki and recovered Nami's memory, everything would be clear. The sound of the wind and waves coming from the entrance of the cave resounded in my ear. If I fell asleep right now, by the time I woke up, it'd probably be noon. If possible, I'd like to get up a little earlier. A hazy thought, such as setting the alarm of my cell phone, bubbled up from the watery ball of my mind, but... Your cell phone is dead, thanks to Aoi Sensei. As my consciousness sank towards a deep abyss, I couldn't reach and catch that thought which had floated up to the water's surface. I also didn't remember the fact that the battery on the phone had already run out in the first place. Okay, thank you. When I opened my eyes, it was dark.
夜?
I didn't think I slept that long, and my body stiffened. Once I remembered that I was inside a cave, I gave a sardonic laugh.
少し寝すぎちゃったわね。
だけど、翔子ちゃん元気になりました。
ナミもね。
We faced each other and laughed as we linked hands. I proceeded outside the cave. As we neared the entrance of the cave, the sound of the wind and waves got louder. The wind had gotten stronger, but the rain hadn't come yet, so it hadn't reached a level of storm yet. The sky was blue, and the clouds then blocked the rays of sunlight.
お昼は過ぎちゃったわね。
It was still bright outside, but since the sun was on its way down, it was closer to evening than to noon. I would have liked to know the time, but my cell phone had already become just a tin box, and I didn't possess any other watch. The strange rocks started to peek through the waves that seemed to swallow them, so the stepping stones would soon appear.
だけど、この引き潮を待っていたら、こっちに着くのは夜になってただろうし。
I remembered the telephone call I received from our teacher.
今頃、帰りのバスに乗っていたかもしれないわ。
They wouldn't leave us here.
大丈夫でしょうか。
休みが倒れるのはいつものことだから。
But still, I was worried. When Nami had awakened, as Yasumi had been in the middle of shopping, she had also felt bad. It somehow seemed that Yasumi's condition had worsened after coming to Neosekken.
まず、こっちの用事を片付けましょう。
I was walking through a green forest. Holding Nami's hand, the spots of sunlight filtering through the trees clung to her white skin as we walked through the forest. Searching for the Tokasaki no Tsubaki forest where red Tsubaki bloomed outside of spring, we walked through the green forest. Though our target was the power residing in those Tsubaki, there was no one around to condemn us.
人の姿がなくて助かるわね。
禁足地ですから。
It's as expected that no one was around, since it wasn't just a Tsubaki forest. Almost everything here was forbidden land. However, this forest made me.
なんとなく覚えているような気がするのよ。この洞窟と椿の森を行き来したことがあるって。
I had a sense of deja vu that I had walked together with Nami like this. I thought that the girl I played with back then was Nami, but had it really been Nami? No.
確か。
翔子ちゃん、こっちです。
Nami, who was also Yasuhime-sama, could probably sense her own power, which she had imparted a portion of to the Tsubaki. She said in a confident voice, "We were in the interior, where the sound of the waves was cut off, and the trees blocked the wind. I wondered if we were almost there. I sort of remembered that it was a rather long distance for such a child to walk. Short of breath, the pieces of my memory floated up as we headed for the place we had promised to go. I remembered the scenery.
そうだ、もうすぐ。
The smell of the sea suddenly disappeared. There was something like an invisible barrier. The air past here felt heavy. I think the sea breeze couldn't enter because the air here was denser. And as Nami and I continued to walk through the middle of the forest,
翔子ちゃん。
どこ先の。
at first we only saw one, but as we headed deeper, the density gradually increased until they almost took up the whole area.
椿の森だ。ナミ？
翔子ちゃん、ここは変だと感じませんか？
確かにこの空気の重さ、どこかで、あ、剣のあの時の空気に似ているかも。
多分これがマタムの。
安姫様が言うように限界が近づいてるわけ？
普段からこうでしたら禁足地などにするまでもなく、誰も近寄らないでしょうから。
Rustle. For a moment the presence in the forest expanded, and then returned to normal, though in reality it was stronger than before.
これは
翔子ちゃん、剣が来ます。
剣？
The person who went to Urashima carrying the sword was...
夏姉さんが？
A little bit after Nami's warning, I also finally sensed its presence. I heard the sound of footsteps trampling through the underbrush.
夏姉さん！
At my shout, the woman dressed in black who was holding the sword, Natsune-san, stopped in her tracks. The eyes that gazed at me earlier had neither killing intent nor madness floating within them. Those eyes were dark and filled with kindness. Those were the eyes I knew.
夏姉さん、なっちゃんなんでしょ？まさか。
She looked over me from head to toe countless times, her eyes finally stopping on one spot.
それは私とアキコさんが買ってあげた。
It was a jagged hairpin that resembled waves of blue. I took good care of things, and fortunately, it had a simple design, so I had continued to wear that same thing for 8 years. Probably that was a starting point for comparing the similarities between the me from the past and me right now. A wondrous gasp escaped from Natsune-san as she stared at me in astonishment.
まさか。もしかして、翔ちゃん。
Ding ding ding.
そうよ、夏姉さん。アキコさんの孫の翔子よ。夏姉さんが覚えてる私とは、ずいぶん変わっちゃってるだろうけど。翔ちゃん。
The sword slipped from Natsune-san's hands and pierced the ground of the Tsubaki forest. As if she wanted to gauge for herself how much I'd grown and to confirm my existence, she put her arms around me. Our bodies clung to each other. There was no mistake. This was Natsune-san.
あれから8年経ったから。私、もう高校2年よ。翔ちゃん。 生きていたの。それは私のセリフだってば。なんで夏姉さん生きてるの？なんで生きていたなら帰ってこなかったの？なんでそんなもの持ってここにいるの？それは。
Natsune-san clutched her head.
なんてことを。私はまたしでかしてしまったわけだ。
しでかすって何をですか？
私は翔ちゃんを生贄にされたと思い込んでクロークルーを切りに来たんだ。え？
She was saying that 8 years ago. I had been about to be offered as a sacrifice to the dragon god of Urashima, Kuru. To prevent that, Natsu-Nissen fought with the one who carried out the sacrifice, Kuru's priest, the Katamunutsugu, and then lost to him. That's why she had continued to believe that. The one-eyed, white-haired who made Natsu-Nissen an Oni had also told her.
クロを切らない限り、翔ちゃんの魂が救われることはないって騙されて。
That's why, in order to kill Kuru, she had stolen a cursed item from the Age of Gods and had come to Urashima. Jeez. The person who had searched for and seized an item sealed for almost 800 years hadn't even confirmed if I was alive or not.
仕方ないわね。ごめんなさい。翔ちゃん。
Really though, you were a police officer in life, so I mean, I would think that'd be a very basic thing that they would teach you in police academy, yeah? Just to confirm basic stuff like this? However, that really seemed like something Natsu-Nissen would do. She probably wasn't the best police officer then. The first person to notice that extraordinary event was Nami. It had probably been a gradual change from bluish purple to red, like being stained or permeated. However, since I had been concentrating on my conversation with Natsu-Nissen, it seemed to me that the air had suddenly turned red. Those lights were almost like a spurt of blood. As the heads fell down. Since the flowers fell from the base, they looked like the heads of ancient warriors falling, as if I were viewing a beheading. And also, there were hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of heads all at once. Looking up, the sky was falling.
これは一体耐えられなかったのです。
Nami's voice, the color of her eyes, everything became more dignified.
ナミ、安姫様。
近づいた剣に共なりするマタムの力に封印は意味をなさなくなったのです。
Whoops. Using Yasuhime-sama's power, the flowers were supposed to bloom eternally, but the strength of the seal itself hadn't changed. Even if it was enough to seal Matamu, it wasn't enough to hold Matamu when it resonated with the power of the sword. That was how it was.
じゃあ、マタムの封印はもう。
A strong wind blew, causing the fallen red Tsubaki to dance in the air. The roar of Matamu resounded.
翔子、あなたは約束通り私をここまで連れてきてくれました。おかげで風神の椿に与えた床先の力は露と虚しく消される前に津波の好みに戻りましたが。
Yasuhime-sama's goal, and the reason Nami and I had crossed over to the island, had been to strengthen the seal.
マタムは。
Before a new seal could be laid out in place of the one with open seams, the seal had broken and had come into this world.
私が剣を持ってきてしまったから。
Natsu-Nissen had pulled out the sword when the strange phenomena had first started. She gripped it and bit her lip.
私は本当に何という。
この災いを幸いと返じましょう。
As she stared at a miasma similar to the power of the sword, she said,
私の力では不妻の椿に封じるのが精一杯でしたが、剣がこの手にあるのでしたら封じるまでもありません。
マタムを切る。できるんですか。この剣は神さえ葬る神よの呪物だから。
As atonement for her sins, Natsuhime was saying that she would do that deed herself. Yatsuhime-sama shook her head.
確かに切ることもできるでしょう。しかしそうではありません。切る必要はないのです。
No need? Since we didn't grasp what she was saying, Natsuhime-san and I looked at each other. Yasuhime-sama looked at us and was going to continue her explanation, but
マタムと剣の本質は
one and the same. Her sentence stopped midway, and her body swayed.
安姫様
The owner of the small body I held in my arms opened up her closed eyelids. The wet eyes like a water surface that peered out from beneath long eyelashes were.
安姫様ではないです。何に戻ったの？元の私のままでもないかもしれません。
As if she were a little uneasy, she looked down at both of her small hands.
私の中に降りてきていた安姫様は取り戻した力と一緒に私の中に溶けてしまいました。
Staring at her palms, she said that Yasuhime-sama hadn't disappeared, but was right here.
私はいろいろ思い出して、私はいろいろ新たに知りました。翔子ちゃん、私が誰なのか思い出しました。翔子ちゃん、私は。
And then, another rush of wind interrupted Nami's words. That wind carried an ominous presence within it. The fallen Tsubaki and setting sun dyed the forest in a viscous red, suddenly obscuring everything.
この気配、森の空気がいそう。もうマタムが。マタムよりは小さいですが、でも数が。毛量とバロウリュ。
The forest rustled. The wind continued to cause the branches to sway. There was also the sound of countless footsteps stepping through the underbrush. Oh, God. The Moryu had at first only been making raspy noises, as if heralding something. They now started to mill around. And then, in the dense, red atmosphere, a single drop of black appeared, as if staining the place.
お揃いだな、皆の衆。
A man dressed in black appeared. The silver eye patch over his left eye was like a mirror, as it reflected the red light, glittering. The man's hair was white, and he was accompanied by a suitable number of shikigami, which gathered around him. This person is...
無事に剣を手に入れられたようだな、成海かや。
Whoops. His compliments were like a line from a play. The one-eyed, white-haired man who spoke so familiarly with her was the Sekiganki.
ロウリュ。
なんだよ。
バロウリュ。よくも私を騙したな。
さて、それはどうだろうな。たまたま宗次のやつがしくじって死んでなかったってだけかもしれねえじゃねえか。俺が助けたわけじゃないが、同じ虫の息だったお前がそうして生きてるんだ。その翔ちゃんとやらが死んだとは限らねえだろ。
He was saying that was Natsune-san's fault for thinking I was dead. Natsune-san didn't refute his argument. Roryu looked at the sword in Natsune-san's hand. His handsome mouth broke into a satisfied smile.
とりあえずお前、もうその剣は必要ねえだろう。クロークルーを切る必要なくなっちまったんだからよ。
As if he couldn't hold himself back anymore, Roryu stretched out a black hand and said,
だからそいつを俺によこせ。
バロウリュ。貴様。
Natsune-san gripped the sword that Roryu coveted. Her eyes burned with anger as she glared at Roryu, who... Roryu gave a derisive laugh, as if he could not find anything more amusing than Natsu-Nisan's straightforward anger. His sardonic laugh indicated that since her stare was neither irritating nor painful, it wouldn't cause him to die.
とんだ慌て者だな、ナルミカヤ。とんだ道化者だな、ナルミカヤ。そんなに大事な相手なら、死んだかどうかの確認ぐらい念入りにしておくべきだろう。
It's true that it was a lapse on the part of Natsu-Nisan, but...
まあ、ネカタのニエとされた者が生きているとは、俺にもびっくりなことだがな。
Roryu moved the gaze of his solitary eye to look at me. He squinted his red eye as if he found this unexpectedly amusing.
幼い証拠個人にはかけらも興味がなかったから、こうして首を突っ込んでくるまでは俺も知らなかったことだが。あれから8年。この娘は自分の家に無事に帰って世間の目ははばかるでもなくのうのうと自由に暮らしていたわけだ。
Roryu returned his narrow, annoying gaze to look at Natsu-Nisan. As if he found one more amusing item, he said,
ナルミカヤ、もしもお前が一度でもこいつのその後を見に行ってたなら随分と結果が違ったとは思わないか。演者の所在が分かっているなら一度くらいは様子見に行くものだろう。
Saying such things right now is useless. Roryu was only saying them to play around with Natsu-Nisan.
私は鬼だ。すでに死んだ人間だ。
死者だって盆には故郷に帰るって言うぜ。
Regarding that point, it really was a blunder on the part of Natsu-Nisan.
おかげで俺はこうして剣にまみえることができたんだから、お前のその愚かさとお前のその優秀さに
私は
そうとも。俺が食わせてやった鬼のせいでちょっとばかり復讐優先になっちまっただけだよな。幼い証拠のことなんて実はどうでもよかったなんてそんなことはねえよな。
夏姉さん、ごめんなさい、翔ちゃん。
She gave me a remorseful look, and then gazed hatefully at Roryu again.
ロウリュウ、貴様。
He ignored that gaze and took a step forward. Putting aside conversation for the moment, he reached out his black hand and said,
さあ、剣を渡してもらおうか。
You know what? I think I'm gonna go ahead and end things here, and we can keep Roryu waiting here for a good while. Until the next episode. I hope you guys enjoyed this latest episode of Aoi Shiro. If you did and you want to see more content from me, feel free to subscribe to my channel. I will see you all for what may possibly be the last episode of Aoi Shiro. Or maybe second last, I don't know for sure, but I have a feeling we're pretty damn we're very close at this point. Either way, take care.